Mark, why don't you hit us with a recap of this final issue?
We open with some Spider-Man internal monologue. Despite this being a war, Spidey thinks they're winning against Madame Mask. The Syndicate is bolstering their ranks, except Electro turns on She-Hulk. Tombstone orders the reversal because if Spider-Man helps them win, they're all gonna lose. White Rabbit asks if Janice backs this idea, and Tombstone brushes her off, affirming he's the boss now. Luke Cage rallies the troops as Spidey and his allies reassess who they're fighting. She-Hulk refers to one of the Syndicate as Paste Pot Patty, and she brushes that back because it's just Trapster, and we're not doing the whole female names for traditionally male villains, though I still think Elektra is better for female Electro. Sorry, other Elektra with a K. But that doesn't mean Mask and her goons are done fighting, and now they're circling the wagons against Spidey and his buddies. Count Nefaria lays the smackdown on Spidey, and even She-Hulk is on the ropes. Except here comes the cavalry, which indicates Luke Cage, Spider-Boy, and Jackpot. Well, I guess that justifies those tie-ins now. Spider-Man is still face down in the middle of Central Park eating lasers from Nefaria and Silvermane, and we try to get a Spider-Man overcoming the odds moment, but instead he gets bailed out by Shotgun, who is no longer under Mask control via a sigil. Speaking of which, Shotgun blows the sigils right off Nefaria and Silvermane, and now Madame Mask is rightly screwed. Nefaria and Silvermane are taken off the board, but Mask still thinks she can pack a wallop against Spider-Man. Spidey tells her it's over, but Mask is promising chaos because he interfered. Spidey says, "You shot my friend!" But Mask pulls a Thanos and pleads ignorance of that, like basically, I don't even know who that is, because removing emotional stakes from a story like this in the 11th hour is certainly a creative approach, I would think. Anyway, punch, punch, kick, kick, and Spider-Man tells Madame Mask that she brought everything upon herself. Jackpot comes in and does some action hero stuff, and eventually Spidey plugs up Madame Mask's arm cannon with webbing, and it's officially game over for her. The remaining rats all leave the sinking ship. Shang-Chi and Danny Rand show up, and Spider-Man is like, "Where are you?" And they're like, "We don't know. Spider Office Editorial made us a miniseries for Gang War, but we've just been a non-factor anyway." We have some superhero bickering, and everyone on the hero side is just starting to congratulate each other for multiple pages. Luke Cage thanks Spidey, and Spider-Man talks about the Vigilante Act, and Cage tells him, "Don't worry, that major plot point that initiated this whole story in the first place was basically resolved with no drama off page." So Peter goes to visit Randy Robertson in the hospital, giving him an update on the law being repealed, and eventually Randy is like, "Oh God, I'm tired of pretending to be nearly dead and to create a mascot for the story, so I'm going to wake up and resolve this whole thing." Randy then jokes that he's been awake since Spider-Man gave an inspirational speech to him earlier and said Spider-Man must have taken care of the gang war. Just because Amazing Spider-Man needs to name-check the entire Marvel Universe now, Peter makes sure he corrects Randy, his nearly dead friend, to let him know that in fact Spider-Man got so much help and couldn't have done it without them. Randy then asks about Janice, and Peter doesn't know where she is because no one does. So that brings us to Tombstone and White Rabbit. Tombstone just says he and Janice had a disagreement and she left. White Rabbit looks kind of cynical, and he lets her know she should be happy because, hey, she got a promotion. Hey, I know what that feels like. Anyway, White Rabbit points out Tombstone only gets to run the city because he teamed up with Spider-Man, and Tombstone agrees with her. He says he owes Spider-Man, so he's going to pay him back by beating him to death in broad daylight in front of everyone else. And we get a final look at the gang war map that shows everything is being run by Tombstone. Graphic design is Marvel's passion.